So we'll get to that later, but I want to start with my highs. Okay, I'm going to give you my 2, and then I'll let you come in and tell me why your highs are better. The 2 highs is the ability to put up points. 4 touchdowns in the first quarter is awesome. Turnovers everywhere. The defense looks solid, but there's one player in particular, and he wasn't even playing the position he normally plays. He got in there a couple times, but Talanoa Hufanga. I have been speaking highly of him for a long time now. I took modern European history with him last year, so I really got to know him well there. We talked about the French Revolution and football, the 2 greatest things in the world right there. So he really showed out, and I think the linebackers have been one of the weak spots for USC this year. You see teams run all over USC, and a lot of that's from the linebackers. We're not putting pressure on quarterbacks as much as I think we need to, and you bring Talanoa in there, who had 5 solo tackles, 4 assisted, an interception, and a sack. And that interception was almost a pick 6. And it was a beautiful interception, the way he stuck with it, and then hurdled a dude. I don't think I've ever seen a defensive player make a hurdle that good. That was insane. And then just the ability to put up points. You got to step on teams' throats, especially when you can find a way to get ahead early. And USC needed to get ahead early this game. They have a short week. First time they're playing on Sunday in a long time, and then they got UCLA on Saturday this week, and hopefully the Pac-12 championship on Friday the following week. That's 3 games in 13 days. So they need to rest these guys up. Nathan, give me your highs.
Kedon Slovis was my biggest high from USC versus Washington State. Look, I would say that Kedon Slovis is back. I'm going to be honest. I don't think he ever really left, right? I've said this all season. If you take those first 2 games against Arizona State and Arizona and you call that bad quarterback play, then USC has a really good problem on its hand, and I would love to see some more bad quarterback play, please. And yesterday against Wazzu was, I think, honestly, maybe the best half we've seen him play ever. The first half against Arizona State last year, when they put up, again, 28 points in the first quarter, he threw for like 296 yards in the first quarter alone, which is just absurd. But yesterday, in the first half, Kedon was 17 of 18, and the one incompletion was his first throw of the game on a little drag route on a tough pass that wasn't caught, whatever. And then he closed the half with 17 straight completions. And he was making tough throws all over. 2 of the touchdowns to Amon-Ra St. Brown were just gorgeous passes, and obviously great plays by Amon-Ra to come down with those. And then the one touchdown that he floated to Tyler Vaughn's, ball sailed 40 yards. It gave me kind of a nightmarish flashback to a throw they had earlier this year, I think against Arizona. It was pretty much the same play. Wasn't quite in the end zone, but Kedon made another perfect throw, and Vaughn's just dropped it, which is uncharacteristic of him. So when the ball was in midair, I was kind of scared about that. But he caught it for USC's 5th touchdown of the half. That was awesome to see. And if this is the Kedon Slovis that we're going to get the rest of the year, the potential for USC's offense is just through the roof. And one of the guys that, of course, as I said, made that all come together for the Trojans was Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's been good this year, but I don't quite think he's been as big of a factor in this offense as I think many of us expected. I think he's a guy that could go in, maybe the early second round, late second round of this draft. Has a chance to sneak into the first round. We'll see. But again, you kind of expected him to be the focal point of this offense. And he's probably been the top target so far this year, but not quite as much as we expected. Seeing him go crazy in the first quarter, I think he tied an NCAA record for touchdowns in a quarter, or set a Pac-12 record for touchdowns.
He tied the Pac-12 record of touchdowns in receiving touchdowns in a game in the first quarter.
And he did it in one quarter. He only had 65 yards on the night, but after the first quarter, none of it really mattered because they were up 28-0. He made some insane catches. That was really nice to see. And then a sort of non-tangible thing that I saw was this team's got the juice, man. I was at the game. I was in the press box, and you could hear the Trojan bench pretty much the entire game. They were chirping, they were shouting, they were hollering, they were having a party. My USC thing just fell behind me, whatever. They were having a party. That was fun. They were having so much fun. I think one moment that stood out to me was in the third quarter at some point. Some backup running back. I honestly forget who it was because it wasn't that significant of a play, and the game was pretty much already over. He kind of trucked this guy, but not really. He probably gained an extra yard or two, and he didn't really blow the guy up. But the USC bench was high stepping in place, like running around with their arms out, like everyone was, going, "Oh, that was insane!" It was like it was a nice play, but it wasn't like that crazy. I don't know, but that's the kind of thing that I love to see out of this team. I think that there's an extra sort of energy around this group that not wasn't there the first couple of weeks or wasn't there last year, but it was especially there last night. And that's the kind of thing I think this team needs, and I think that that's the kind of thing that this team feeds on. So that was awesome to see from me.
Well, I mean, you love to see that juice. You saw Elijah Griffin's pick. I know you pointed that out when we were talking about this
Yeah,
earlier. That guy gets up and does his little dance as he always does. The
yeah,
juice is definitely there, and I think it was even there last year. That's something that we've really started to see from USC, and especially when you don't have fans in the stand, you have to create your own energy. Kieran brought up a good point in the chat, saying tough to judge given a poor Wazoo defense, undoubtedly dominant performance by USC. I want to get to that. Just stay around for this segue into the lows. It's going to be beautiful. So just wait for that. But I want to talk a little bit about Keaton. We saw against that Utah team that he started to look a little bit more comfortable. He has some more time in the pocket. Keaton likes to sit in that pocket, and he can get out when he needs to. But when he's able to sit back there and really hone in on his throws, that ball comes out a lot better, and he drops dimes. That pass to Tyler Vaughns was a beautiful pass. It was right where it needed to be. Same with that Amon-Ra end zone fade. And I know you're not a fan of the end zone fade, but I am, especially with Michael Pittman.
Hey, I think look, if you have the guys that can make those plays and a quarterback that can place it perfectly, I'm all for it.
Well, the thing about having Pittman was it was a guaranteed thing. If you were between the 5 and the 10-yard line, every time it was an end zone fade, right side Pittman, toe tap, perfect, beautiful. And we didn't see that a lot this year, and I think a lot of that's just because it doesn't really fit the receivers well. But you see guys like Drake London finding a bit of their own groove. That one pass where he got it like 10 yards out and then dropped around. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And we've seen Amon-Ra, start to find some holes there. But here's my issue with this game, and I'm going to segue into my lows here because there's a high to it and there's a low to it. The high from this is if a team ever so chooses to play man-on-man coverage with these receivers, they are getting torched.
It's done.
If you put any one of our receivers up against any DB in the Pac-12, they are going to torch them, right? You got 4 guys that are weapons out there. You can throw to any one of them. And if you're playing man-on-man coverage, one of them's going to get open. I said this earlier, and don't take this out of context, but Keaton reminds me a little bit of Joe Burrow in the way that he reads the field. If he's able to sit back there and be evasive, he is able to find that open guy, find that man-on-man coverage, and really throw it to the open guy. And that's why we saw Joe Burrow was so effective last year, is because everyone he threw to was open by 10 yards, right? And they were able to torch teams.